It's time for our MacBreak Weekly, episode 216. Chris Breen filling in for Alex Lindsay this week. Andy Ihnatko's here. Our thoughts on Windows Phone 7. Bloomberg copies the Twit network. And we'll give you the latest rumors on the Verizon iPhone. It's all next with MacBreak Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 216, recorded October 12th, 2010. No Mojo for you. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by GoToMyPC. Think remote access on your PC or Mac is complicated? Well, think again. It's easy with GoToMyPC. For your free 30-day trial, visit GoToMyPC.com and use the offer code MacBreak. And by Drobo, the original S Pro, and the new Drobo Elite, offering expandable storage products for individuals, small businesses, and creative teams. For more information and instant rebates, visit drobo.com/MacBreak. And by Audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers all your Macintosh stuff. Actually, all your Apple stuff. Less and less Macintosh, more and more iPhone and iPad and iPod. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the bouffant of all knowledge, Mr. Chris Breen, senior editor at Macworld.com, and always a welcome guest on MacBreak Weekly. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Liam. Great to be here.
Good to see you. Filling in for Alex Lindsay, who has the day off. He's traveling. Andy Ihnatko's here, too, from Points East and the celestial waste of bandwidth.
Yes, speaking of Points East, I might be a little bit off my game this week because I used to be in a chair facing east. Now I'm actually facing north.
Oh,
so
dear.
I don't know if that's going to have any effect on my performance today. I'm hoping that we can just get past it. I really probably shouldn't even mentioned it, but I just want to have that out there because otherwise people will be twittering saying, "Hey, does it look like Andy's like facing north this time?"
Yeah,
he's a little bit off of azimuth this time.
Well, and I think there's a feng shui issue in the it's like the elephant in the room. The
facing the mouth of the dragon. Yes, we shouldn't be doing that.
The feng shui in the room is big. Actually, the feng shui in the room. I came in very early yesterday. For some reason, even though Microsoft is in Seattle, they decided to hold their Windows 7 launch event at 9:30 Eastern Time, 6:30 Seattle time. But I was here in the studio. I was the only one. I was unshaven. I was wearing slippers and jammies. But I was here at 6:30 in the morning, and we finally have a Windows Phone 7. 9 devices rolled out by Steve Ballmer. Ralph De La Vega, the CEO of AT&T, was there to talk about the 3 devices AT&T will offer November 8th. T-Mobile will have 2 devices mid-month, they say, mid-November. All of them share many of the same characteristics. Unlike Google, Microsoft has a reference hardware platform that they want everybody to adhere to. Gigahertz Snapdragon processor from Qualcomm. Sorry, Intel. 800 by 480 screen, although the screen sizes range from 3.5 to 4.3 inches. 5-megapixel camera. I do believe that some of these have front-facing cameras. Some of the screens are LCD. Samsung will be doing AMOLED screens. There's a differing amount of storage, ranging from 8 to 16 gigabytes. But these are all very similar, and they're all running what is, a completely redesigned user interface. Looks a lot like the Zune HD. Andy, what do you think? Did you look at these?
Yeah, and boy, am I really excited about getting my hands on one of these for like real in-depth testing. I was trying to think about something to say about it in a column this morning, and the best I could come up with is how excited it was when Conan O'Brien started taking over late night, because you had David Letterman, who totally changed what the talk show could look like, and then everybody said, "Wow, that's good. Let's do a show that's like that." And so you had the Arsenio Hall show. You got all these shows that copied it, but then you had the first people who said, "Okay, that's good, but let's do something that is not obviously a copy of this one that obviously influenced so many others." So I mean,
so you're saying it's no coincidence that Conan O'Brien is also launching November 8th on TBS.
They should advertise, but
a little bit,
maybe a little. Well, anytime. See, the important thing is that we managed to get Conan O'Brien and his relaunched show somewhere inside the show, so that we can show our support for Team Coco. Team Coco. Word. The point being that it's exciting because this is the first phone since the iPhone that's not either a clone of the iPhone or either so we should do a phone that's that's the direction we should go in, because mostly there have been a lot of lame copies going on. Right. This is the first time where there's a brand new perspective, something that seems very, very relevant to the way that people use phones today. It doesn't seem as app-driven, like as destination app-driven as the iPhone or as the Android, but it seems to be the methodology of this interface seems to be a lot more towards I'm going to take my phone out of my pocket, I'm going to get a piece of information, and then I'm going to put that phone back in my pocket, because it makes it so easy to have multiple tiles of information, multiple apps that can get your attention at the same time. If you just want to see, just want to check email, just want to check Twitter, just want to see what the latest track is, and put anything on that screen that you need to have a quick reference at, this is really optimized towards that. And it's a very, very pretty interface too. Apple can really take a couple lessons from here. It's a very, very pretty, ambitious interface.
It's pretty clear Microsoft sees it the same way. You've seen perhaps the Season of the Witch ad. I'll play a little bit of it. This using some great Doors music. It's people. Is that the Doors or no? Eric
that
Burdon.
Would be Donovan.
Donovan.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me on that stupid mistake.
Yes, this is Microsoft's vision of the future. Millions of people, no one looking at each other.
Nobody's
all looking at their phone.
At first I thought, boy, did they get this wrong? Then he realized that everybody's staring at their iPhone, and there are all sorts of accidents having occurred,
right?
Including a guy fell off his bike. There's the apples falling from the fruit stand, and finally it ends with a car run into a street lamp. And you realize that what they're really saying is, I'm not sure this is a good ad for Windows Phone, but they say it's time for a phone to save us from our phones. And the point really is that with Windows Phone, you get in, you get what you want, and you get out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting pitch. Chris Breen, what do you think?
I think that is an interesting pitch, because you could play that a couple of different ways. One is that I think that they might be addressing the fact that Apple says, well, we have 250,000 apps and more, which is fine unless you've got a bunch of them on your phone and you're trying to do something and you're constantly switching here and you're going back there, and you just have so much stuff that, yes, you do tend to have your face in the phone. On the other hand, the message can also be, if one were to look at it that way, that this phone isn't very interesting and there's not much to look at. And so all you really need to do is go, yeah, it's like, oh, I got Twitter. Oh, well, I don't want to do anything else with this phone, so I'll just put it back in my pocket. So, it's possible that the iPhone is really compelling, and people spend so much time looking at it, or an Android phone, because there's so much going on and they're so interested in it. Whereas Microsoft phone, they go, yeah, I got, okay.
I have to ask, who is that ad aimed at? I mean, is there anybody who's buying a phone who doesn't want to be engaged by their phone?
Your parents. It's being sold to parents who are saying, get your face out of the phone. I want to have a conversation with you.
Your kids today.
Yeah, so they'll get them a Windows phone, and they kind of go, oh, yeah, what?
Well, I'm going to get one. I'm sure, Andy, have you got a review unit yet, or are you still...
I'm still in process.
Yeah.
I expect to get one well before the release date, but I don't have one yet.
And I'm always reluctant to review a phone based even on just a few days, let alone no days experience with it. I think you really have to try it for at least a couple of weeks to really get a set. Live with it. Force yourself to live with it. But one thing struck me immediately, and you kind of raised this, whereas Apple and Android, which really is an Apple clone in the respect that you were talking about, Andy, are very app-centric. The OS takes a backseat to the apps. The UI, for the most part, that you live in is an app, not so much the phone. Microsoft's taking exactly the opposite point of view, maybe because they only have a couple of thousand apps, but I think really that they're rethinking this, and they're saying we're going to be OS-centric. They say it's your data-centric, but really it's always your data-centric. What it really is OS-centric. We're going to deliver it your way, and I think the success of this phone is absolutely going to rely on how well people take to this way of doing it, because you really don't have a choice. You've got the tiles, you've got the slideys, the metros. It's that or nothing, because apps don't take over the phone in the same way they do on Android and iPhone.
It's going to be a really good test case because so many companies, Apple included, try to think that, well, we've got 400 million apps, and that makes us better because 400 million is a larger number than 80,000, which is how many apps our competitor has. But it's going to be a really good test to see how many of these third-party apps do people really rely on? Do you really need to have a huge app store, or is it enough that you cover 8, 9, maybe a dozen specific bases that people are looking to go for? If people got their Facebook covered, their Twitter covered, ability to get email on the web, and the ability to maybe access cloud documents and Google Documents on the run, does it really matter to them that they don't have 800 different flashlight fart apps?
It's my guess that Microsoft, I could just see the decision-making process, which is, can we ever compete with the App Store? No.
Right. I think that's the smartest move they made. They decided the only way you can compete with the iPhone and even with Android is not to compete. Do something new. Differentiate yourself in such a specific way that you'll attract attention. You won't just be buried in the scrum.
Here's another Windows Phone ad just to give you an idea of where Microsoft's positioning this phone. They're all looking at their phones this time. Like, she's giving a massage while looking at the phone. He's pouring his coffee out. The guy's on the seesaw. The poor kid's in the air. There's a beautiful woman. He's looking at his phone. She's going on the roller coaster. He's looking at his phone. A shark is coming. He's looking at his phone. He's in the urinal, and he drops his phone.
Really?
Okay, I got to say, I like this ad. It looks like they're looking at a BlackBerry, by the way, in every case. Doesn't look like an iPhone or an Android phone. It really looks like a BlackBerry. Although they're all scrolling.
Really?
It's time for a phone to save us from our phones.
A phone to save us from a phone. I think that's a really interesting
to get you in
pitch.
and out and back to life.
Get you in and out and back to life.
It's an interesting flip on the whole Mac versus PC thing, because in the past, everybody was saying, well, you get a PC because there are a trillion applications for it.
Right.
And look at the Mac. There are only a handful of them. And Mac users would always say, yes, but they're all the right apps. I can do everything I need to do in a more elegant way and a simpler way on my Mac than I can on a PC, because on a PC I'm overwhelmed with stuff. And now Microsoft has flipped that around.
Well, it goes even farther than that, because the Mac was always the computer for people who just wanted to get stuff done, get in and get out, and didn't want to fuss with it. Right. And this is exactly the opposite. So I think it's great that Microsoft has turned the tables. However, I have to say, I think it's going upstream, and I really... I'm not convinced, to be honest, that this is going to be a successful strategy. I really think it's going to come down to how people feel about those tiles, and I think because I don't think you can. I mean, you're in the tiles, man. This is it. And I think
not really. I mean, as soon as you tap a tile, you get into
an app.
A really nice horizontally scrolling interface where it's on one level, it's the same sort of drill deeper as you go through menu, drill deep. But there's enough of a twist on that concept that it does give you a natural idea of the flow of where you are, where you're going, and how to get back to that first main screen. The big idea is that all these tiles are active, live, and interactive. Right. So it's not just that you get one little badge that says, oh, you have 412 emails. Do not tap me unless you want to get lost in work. It can actually be presenting information. Just like if those of you who do want to maximize the 90 seconds you're spending waiting in line at the post office, you take out the Windows 7 phone, you glance at it on the screen, you find out what's going on in Twitter, what the latest sports score is. You find out what the subject line of your last email is, what the location of your next appointment is going to be, whether your flight's been delayed. Not that you would want to look at 8 tiles at once, but it saves you from an additional tap to launch in my case, TripIt, just to find out, is my plane on time or not.
You're saying it's dashboard focused.
It's it's a nice centralized dashboard.
But even when you get into apps, the UI is very distinctive. I mean, you're using a Windows phone the whole time. It seems to be.
But that's a good thing. It's such a unique interface where the best way to put it is that it's very, very focused on transitions and camera moves. So as you are drilling deeper, it's such a simple idea where you can either have a little like ellipsis sort of thing where an arrow pointing to the other direction saying, over here you have a list of active mentions on Twitter, or you can simply make the title pane of the previous screen a little too wide, so it's sort of actually still like sort of encroaching into the next screen, so that mentally you look at that and you realize that, oh, right, that's the ONS of mentions. So if I tap that, that'll take me back to the mentions page. It'll just, the camera will move one step to the left, and you'll be back where you were before. I've used it on. I got the first like really positive review of the Zune last year when the Zune HD came out. And it was based on, and I know the Windows 7 phone is based a lot on the same UI stuff that the Zune came out with, and I was pretty happy with the interface on the Zune.
Well, if you like the Zune, you'll like this. This is the Zune phone, basically.
But it's flashy and it's very, very functional. Again, it's a beautiful user interface design. I don't know how practical it's going to be. I don't know how functional it will be in practice, because
we have to try it.
I've had all
there's
of
also
like
how cool it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a coolness factor with Microsoft. When people look at Microsoft, they think of going on the 7 food groups ride at Disneyland. They go, oh, there is such a thing. Oh, well, all right. Well, I'd actually rather go on that ride there. So Microsoft has sort of an uphill battle because there's already iPhone and Android, which people tend to think in twos anyway. And now you've got this other option, and people think, as they do with the Zune, although I think the Zune in its current form is great, they look at this and go, well, yeah, but it's Microsoft, so do I really want to do that?
Well, it'll be very interesting. It's a horse race. Let's put it that way. We just don't know how many horses. It's obviously Apple, Google, and probably BlackBerry. You got to worry about Nokia, which has 41% of the smartphone market worldwide, but dwindling fast.
Yeah, that's like the percentage of the Earth that the British Empire had in 1946.
Yeah.
It's like, good number, enjoy that number. It's going to be trending. The Delta V is going to be negative for the next rest of the world.
The trend is not your friend.
You might be able to hold on to Scotland, Wales, and Ireland if you're lucky.
Did you see Woz on? Of course you did, because you watch Big Bang Theory religiously.
Yep, Woz and Mrs. Woz.
And Mrs. Woz. Janet was on too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she smiled and nodded quite nicely. So
I'll tell you what, I probably will get this show removed, if I haven't already, by playing Microsoft ads, I don't know, from YouTube. Anytime we play copyrighted material, YouTube just says, you didn't want to show that, did you?
Well, that's okay. Then we can talk about how clueless Microsoft is for prohibiting us from giving them free ad play.
Well, let's see how the Big Bang Theory folks feel. I'm going to play that as well. But so one more shot at copyright violation in a minute, and then we'll talk about something very exciting having to do with Woz and this network. But first, I want to talk a little bit about GoToMyPC. Boy, I tell you, they are a great company. These Citrix folks, they're really the kings of remote access, and now access to your PC or your Mac, anywhere, anytime, from GoToMyPC. Here's how it works. You go to the PC or Mac you want to remotely access. You surf in your web browser. You surf over to GoToMyPC.com. You sign up for the free trial. Use the offer code MacBreak, so we get some credit for that. You click download. It's about a 30-second download. I mean, it depends on your bandwidth, but it is fast. And then you're done. Now you're set up. That computer is accessible from anywhere, from any kind of computer, Mac or PC. So you don't even have to, use the same kind of computer to access that computer. You go to any other computer on the net, whether you're traveling, whether you're at home. You open up your browser. You go to the website, once again, GoToMyPC.com. You enter your secure username and password, and boom, there it is. That Mac or PC accessed full speed. You can do anything you'd want to do, run any program, check email, send email. Fool everybody. They'll think you're at work when you're not. Access network resources. It's that easy to use. I love it. It's fast. It's efficient. It's effective. And I want you to try it free for 30 days. If you're planning a trip in the near future, GoToMyPC is a must-have. Before you leave, put it on your computer. You'll be glad you did. GoToMyPC.com. And the offer code is MacBreak. Give it a try today. GoToMyPC.com. Offer code MacBreak. I think you're going to love it. All right, folks. Some very good news. Mr. Wozniak is going to be on. We're going to start. We're following in Bloomberg's footsteps. Bloomberg's doing a thing on. They call them game changers. They're interviewing all the big names. I think Zuckerberg's going to be on. Steve Jobs is going to be on, I think, soon. And I wish we could do such a thing, but we couldn't get Jobs. But we got Woz. So Steve Woz on Wednesday, this day after tomorrow, right? Tomorrow. Yes, at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Tom Merritt and I are going to spend some time with Woz asking your question. In fact, if you've got a question you'd like to have us ask Woz, please do Twitter it. I guess let's make the Twitter hashtag, Woz on Twit. Okay, Eileen, Woz, WOZONTWIT. We'll look for your hashtags. You can put your questions Woz on Twit, and then that way we will we'll know to look for it. But here he is. See, he's such a superstar. He was on Dancing with the Stars, and here he is on the show Big Bang Theory.
Manager? Oh Lord, look who it is.
So he's a what's the name of this character? He's a remote telepresence.
This is Sheldon Cooper.
Sheldon.
Steve
Yes.
And he's at a coffee shop, but he's not really there. He's there via telepresence.
He's built himself a telepresence remote droid, so that he can live forever and not have to be exposed to germs or injury. But now he's going to learn an important life lesson, I suspect, about why we're supposed to be out there in the real world.
So he sees Woz and Janet, Woz and Mrs. Woz, and goes over in his telepresence robot.
You know, there's an Olive Garden down the street. You guys should try it sometime.
She's not real happy.
Excuse me, Mr. Wozniak?
Oh, hey, nice virtual presence device.
Thank you. I just want to say I'm a big fan. You're my 15th favorite technological visionary.
Only 15th?
It's still 6 spots above Steve Jobs.
So who are 1 through 14? That's what I'm really wondering.
Well, number 1 is himself. I'm betting.
And
nice.
then we're 2, 3, and 4. So,
Yeah, we're in there. It's nice that Janet
I care
got a
neither
little
for turtlenecs nor showmanship.
shot
I
at
never got that turtleneck thing.
Jobs there. Obviously, that was written into the script, but Woz is a good sport. Woz will say anything, you put it in front of him. He's got his, by the way, he's got his Nixie watch. See, he's wearing his Nixie watch on there. And catch up with the wine, which I think is very Woz-like. Let's.
One of my proudest possessions.
That's Janet, by the way, Janet Wozniak, who we know, Annie and I know, because we've cruised with her.
There you go. On a ship.
Yeah, right. not down Petaluma Boulevard North. On a ship. She
on a lowrider, no.
I don't know if she still does. She worked for Apple Education for a long time and is a great person. And
still works at Apple, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. And worked, and of course, went on many of the Mac Mania cruises.
Is a vintage 19...
As did Woz, by the way. I've cruised with Woz a couple of times. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
7 Apple II. Despite the file system limitations of Apple DOS 3.3, it was a pretty nifty little achievement.
Thanks, we were shooting for nifty. You know, if you had it here, I'd autograph it for you.
Don't move for 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how the buses are running.
So Sheldon is off to get his vintage...
Nerds.
Vintage. Oh, I guess she doesn't get a line, does she? They'd have to pay her then. So he runs off to get his vintage Apple II.
That is clearly an Apple IIe, which you can tell by the back of the bus. Sheldon could have been running ProDOS, which had a much, much better file system.
It is a IIe, isn't it?
That's why this episode didn't work for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like the Zuckerberg movie. When they get it wrong, it just spoils the whole thing.
Just as easy to get it right as it is to get it wrong, huh, producers?
I tell you what, so that we won't, no spoilers, but Sheldon, as you said, learns a valuable lesson. You have to watch that episode of Big Bang Theory, which was on a couple of weeks ago, and I hope you will tune in to watch Woz on our show tomorrow, on our special. We're going to start, we've got John Perry Barlow, we're going to start interviewing, I think, big names, just like Bloomberg's doing. So Jobs will be on Bloomberg television this week, talking about his days as a college dropout. Seriously.
Those that he can remember.
If he can remember any of it. At Reed, I think he was. One of 11 episodes Bloomberg plans to air now through January 2011 as part of its documentary series, Bloomberg Game Changers. Zuckerberg, Sergey and Larry from Google, Biz Stone and Evan Williams at Twitter. Well, they moved up in the world. Larry Ellison will be on. I think there's a clip. I mean, we're going to get blocked on YouTube anyway. I might as well just
exactly.
let's just go for it.
Let's just show Star Wars Episode 4.
Let's just go all the way. That doesn't look like Jobs. Maybe they made a mistake. I don't know. Is it?
Steve Jobs does not care what you think.
This is a gutsy guy.
It's the greatest turnaround in the history of corporate America.
In business, you're used to a lot of give and take. That's not Apple's way.
He's transformed the world we live in. How does he do it?
He's a showman who can really introduce a product, and he has great products.
Oh, it's Guy.
There wasn't a goat farmer in Afghanistan that hadn't heard about the iPhone.
Thursday at 9
Did he say the effing iPhone?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Bloomberg's getting edgy. So I'll watch that. That'll be interesting. So see, they can't complain about that. That was a promo. Didn't even have any Steve in there. All right, the official iPhone rumor segment now of the show. We do this every week. I think we talked last week about the Wall Street Journal and the iPhone. Did we not, Andy? I believe we did.
I believe we did.
Anything new about that? Anything to deny it? Chris Breen, do you believe that a Verizon will get iPhone in 2011?
Well, gosh, if the Wall Street Journal says so, and then the New York Times says the Wall Street Journal's right, then
must be true, huh?
It must be true, and why not? I think we've all been waiting for this for a really long time. It makes a lot of sense when we see the Android share going up as much as it is. It would be lovely for those people who say, I'd like to get an iPhone, but I can't because I'm stuck with Verizon, or I don't like AT&T, or I love Verizon. Now those people finally have an option. And I have to think that really, truly, this time, early 2011, we see it.
I guess the question everybody is asking is, well, how much does Apple concede to Verizon? Do we get Verizon apps on the iPhone? Do we get VCast locked in as we do on other Verizon phones?
I hope that we have like 3 NASCAR apps on the front page, and we could make 8 button taps to get to the camera app.
That would be good.
It's the Verizon innovation that we're missing.
It's the Verizon way. Now, there are other rumors. TechCrunch, of course, didn't want to be left behind with the Times and the Journal in this. They've got to come up with something new. So TechCrunch says the phone will be a dual radio phone with GSM and CDMA, which I'd like to see because Verizon CDMA does not work outside the U.S. and some limited North American countries. So if you travel, it's nice to have a world phone. But, they say, and I'm hearing this from other places as well, will not support 4G, the LTE network that Verizon is rolling out, has announced it's rolling out in time for this phone. I mean, they're going to have it in Silicon Valley, they say, this year. Thoughts? Is that credible? A dual band phone without LTE?
Well, it's certainly a dual band certainly makes sense for Apple in terms of their manufacturing. Why make 2 different flavors of phone if you don't have to, if they can do a dual band?
And this would be
great.
the iPhone 5, right? I mean, it would be
right.
Yeah, it'd be a new phone.
Yeah. So, and then they still have a strong relationship with AT&T, and maybe AT&T is still going to talk to them about what they're going to do with 4G, and maybe it's going to take them a little longer, and maybe they don't want to have this built into the phone and then have AT&T customers say, yeah, but I can't use that.
Yeah, but you got to think Steve Jobs is watching the Windows Phone launch with Ralph de la Vega, CEO of AT&T, front and center. In fact, he even said something like, we are really happy to have the best smartphones on the AT&T network. You know, you have to think that this is Ralph saying, okay, Apple, you're going to leave us, but you're not going to leave us alone.
And this would be the first strained moment those two have ever had in their relationship. So I see this could be grounds for a breakup.
Yeah. Yeah. It is certainly strained.
No, and it certainly has before. I was being facetious.
Oh, yeah, I'm right. Okay.
I mean, Steve calls him all
they
the time.
They hate each other, I know.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
So, for him to go out on stage and say, yes, this is the best phone ever, it's
I have to think, though, this is a real opportunity for we iPhone 4 users to find out if the problem is AT&T or iPhone 4, because I'm going to get I hate to do it, but I think I have to get an AT&T Windows Phone 7. I don't hate to do it because of Windows Phone 7. I hate to do it because of AT&T. Yeah. I could bear, even my son is. Now, by the way, my son is not propagandized, does not follow this, and even he last night said, "Boy, I can't, half the calls I make on my iPhone 4. What's going on, Dad? Is it broken?" He'd never heard any of these stories. He's not into this stuff, but even he, completely independently, is saying, it's not a good phone.
Apple just hates problems that they can't solve themselves, and AT&T just whatever the actual problem is not a problem that they can solve directly. I was at the New York Comic Con over the weekend. It was just the absolute dead zone for coverage. You could not make phone calls. You could not tweet. You could not get access to with your iPad worth anything. And so really, it was. I'm going to have to think about every single interesting and amusing thing I could possibly say at a Comic Con and make sure I do that from my hotel room before I leave for the con floor, because the Javits Center, AT&T was just a big smoking crater.
Yeah.
So Apple could very quickly offload, I think, 40% of their PR problems just by simply making sure that it's available on multiple carriers, so that people start blaming the carrier. So inevitably, whoever has a Verizon phone and gets bad service will say, "Oh, stupid Verizon! I wish I had AT&T," and vice versa for the AT&T users.
Well, it could go both ways for Apple. That could be the case, or the Windows Phone could work great on AT&T, and then Apple gets to say, "Well, we didn't want to say it." But the problem, well, actually, would be the other way around. AT&T would say, we didn't want to say it, but the problem was Apple. Or it goes the other way, and then Apple says, well, we didn't want to say it, but the problem was AT&T. I think November 8th, we're going to learn a lot about who's really to blame.
Hopefully, I think in Microsoft's wildest dreams, they will sell enough Windows 7 phones that network overload is going to be a problem.
Well, no, they're all using the same. They're all using the same 3G. So if you're in San Francisco with a Windows Phone 7, you're using the same exact network that the iPhone 4 folks have complained about for 3 years. Or actually the iPhone users, and then now the iPhone 4 users complain about. If you don't have the same problems on Windows Phone 7 in San Francisco, presumably then that indicts the phone, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does. And you have, I mean, a lot of what people are saying about San Francisco in particular, and I don't know if this is the situation in San Francisco or in New York, but it's a matter of having enough towers. That San Francisco, I've talked to a few AT&T people and said, we would love to just sprinkle towers all over that darn city. But, and Leo, as you know, living around here, it's hard to get stuff done in San Francisco.
We don't want any towers near us.
Yeah, even if you make them look like trees, they don't look like the trees we have. And so, no, you can't do that. And so I could certainly understand AT&T's frustration that they do want to build up the infrastructure, but the government is saying, yeah, well, it's going to be a 3-year wait before you can do anything in our town.
I want your opinion on this, because I think I may have made a mistake, a little bit of a mistake, on Twit this Sunday. We had Ryan Block on. Now, Ryan posted this week, a big blog post saying there's a real problem with the iPhone 4. He called it glassgate. He said Apple has dumped all the slip-on covers, of which I have one, from the Apple Store. You can't buy the slide-on covers anymore because it turns out that this back glass on the back is so prone to scratching, scoring, and eventually fracturing due to those scratches that a slide-on case, that's why Apple sells a bumper case, a slide-on case could cause some real problems. He says it's a severe problem that Apple's taking extremely seriously. Link bait, or is there really a problem? Andy, what do you think?
Gee, I don't know. I haven't seen a problem like that. My main area of curiosity was whether the back plate was more prone to fracture than the front plate, and if that might not have been an engineering decision, so that if force has to be transmitted from that rigid frame to something, better to make it a $29 easily Genius Bar replaceable part than a $100 part that needs at best a swap out to do.
I bought this iFrog's case at the AT&T store. It has a little velveteen on the inside, but the idea is even a case like this, which Apple apparently no longer sells, would score the back, and once scored, the phone would be more prone to cracking. I haven't had any problem. I've been using this for a while.
I don't know. I really do need some proof before I'll. If
it weren't Ryan, I love Ryan and trust him so much, and I really believe that he is not the kind of guy who would go for the link bait. But then, subsequently, I got a lot of email from people saying, "Where's the evidence? What's going on?" Yeah. This sounds like a story to generate traffic, not a real crisis in the iPhone. Have you, Chris, heard anything at all about this?
I haven't seen any evidence of this, and I did read the post, and I thought the post was quite well done. Although I question the wisdom of putting gate in anything, unless there's a real serious problem. I mean, I don't think Ryan was around when the first gate happened, which was Watergate, but that was a serious cover-up, big problem, and maybe Apple is concerned about this, and maybe there is something going on, but I'm not sensing that there is a serious cover-up of anything going on. I think that we would have seen people saying, look, here's the photographic evidence that I've got scratches here. And look, it's shattered because of this. I looked at the series of comments in his post, and there were a few people who said, yes, mine shattered. Well, what happened? Well, I dropped it. That's not the same thing, exactly. And that doesn't really merit a gate unless it's clumsy gate, and you swear that you didn't drop it. And then that definitely is a gate.
All right, we won't call it gate. And I will say the jury is still out. I do think it's somewhat telling that Apple pulled these slide-on cases. And I have to say, you know, I bought a slide-on case. I gave Henry my bumper case. He had a slide-on Mophie case. I said, take this instead. And we'll just have to, I don't know, we'll wait and see. But I haven't had any problem. On the other hand, this iPhone doesn't really get out much. So it may not be this particular iPhone may not be a good example. I thought I'd bring it up, give you guys a chance to weigh in. More to come in just a little bit. We are talking with Andy Ihnatko from the Chicago Sun-Times and the celestial waste of bandwidth, and obviously a sad Red Sox fan today.
No, I'm a happy Red Sox fan because I'm a fan of the greatest team in baseball, the Boston Red Sox. See, we get our pleasure from the game, the sport, the ballpark, the integrity of our players. We don't need that ego boost of postseason play to make ourselves feel good about ourselves and our teams. You know, let that other team keep writing those checks. Just write the check, write the check, write the check. Maybe that'll fill that Yankee-sized hole in your heart, where your heart would be if you were not a Yankees fan. It will never work, but you can only pity them.
I'm rooting for a Yankees-Giants. I know this is the farthest fetched thing in the world, but I'm rooting for a Yankees-Giants World Series so I can root against the Yankees with you, Andy.
Exactly.
Also here, Chris Breen, the bouffant of all knowledge, his Twitter account. He actually has two. He has Hair of Breen and Body of Breen. Do you do both of those, or is somebody else?
No, I don't. Hair of Breen is somebody else.
But you acknowledged Hair of Breen by having your Twitter account be Body of Breen.
Well, I had to. It was a natural reaction. I thought, well, if my hair is going to have an account, I need to do something as well. So, and I would be wearing my Giants hat because I'm now a reborn Giants fan.
Me too.
But, you know, it would smush this down. Classy Giants too.
Yes.
Bobby Cox stopping, applause.
Yes.
That was a classy move.
It almost looked like Bruce Bochy was trying to run over and shake Bobby's hand.
I think he was, and Bobby just had
left.
to go. I think he was choked up.
You know what? That's what it was. I really think that's what it was. I think he did not want to cry in public, and at the press conference, he did in fact lose it.
He did, and that was so touching. And when he was talking about his team, I just thought, I'm sorry, I didn't mean this to be.
Well, no, it's hard for
baseball,
me,
but it was classic.
As a Giants fan for years, and we have often faced the Braves in clutch situations and rooted against the Braves. And I remember the days of Smoltz. And you know, really hating the Braves. But Bobby Cox was always there, and so you got to tip your hat to a great competitor and obviously one of the Hall of Fame manager, one of the best managers in baseball. But it was a good night last night for Giants fans. Let's leave it at that. And bring it on, Phillies. So we're. You're right. I don't know how that happened. We got into that. Let's talk about something everybody can root for. The little fighting machine from Data Robotics that we call the Drobo. You gotta love the Drobo. Everybody loves a Drobo. I pull all my stuff in a Drobo.
Put all of your stuff on a Drobo.
I've got the new Drobo FS. Actually, there's a newer Drobo. If you go to drobo.com/MacBreak, you can learn all about the various Drobo models. They now have a Drobo Pro FS, which, compared to my Drobo FS, looks like there's something wrong with it. It's like it's got stretched. Look at the size of that thing. That's because it's got 8, count them, 8
It's like a double neck guitar. It just has to be more awesome.
It is twice as awesome. Twice as awesome. Drobo.com/MacBreak. You can see what all the Drobo units are, and you can also get a great deal, save up to $500 on a populated Drobo. It says MacBreak Weekly on the website, and I've been told it's MacBreak. I don't know. Try one or the other. See which gets you the better discount. Oh, I tell you. Let me talk about the Drobo models, though, here. You got your basic Drobo, which is the first to come out. We were all so excited when Drobo came out. 4 drives for data redundancy and speed. Connects via USB 2 or FireWire 800. A lot of photographers, people with videographers, people with big data storage needs went out and got the Drobo. Drobo realized that there was a market here. They came out with a Drobo S via eSATA, FireWire 800, or USB 2.0. 5 drives for more capacity, up to 10 terabytes. The Drobo FS, which I have in my house for backup network-wide because it connects via gigabit Ethernet. And I just love having that redundancy. Any drive can fail. Actually, you could set the Drobo FS for any 2 drives to fail. And you just pop them out, put a new one in, and it's back up and running without the loss of any data. Those lights on the front tell you exactly drive status. And when one of the drives starts to fill up, pop the smallest drive, put a new one in, and you've got more capacity just like that. The Drobo Pro with the 8 drives. And that's 16 terabytes of storage. Nearline bulk storage is what they call it. Bulk up. And, of course, the Drobo Elite with its iSCSI, its virtualization support, its certified VMware client. Up to 6. It's basically a SAN. 16 servers or workstations can connect at the same time. They're great products. Highly recommended for anybody who has to do a lot of storage. We all know about the Drobo. I hope you know about the Drobo. And if you don't, I want you to go to drobo.com/MacBreak, drobo.com/MacBreak, and learn more. I guess if you decide to buy it, use the code MAC. That's what it says on the website, MacBreak Weekly, and you'll save $75 to $500 off a populated Drobo model. Put all your stuff in a Drobo. We do, and we trust it with our most precious data. I love that jingle. I got 2 jingles for Drobo. And play. This is another one.
D-R-O-B-O, D-R-O-B-O, Drobo. Feeling droopy.
Jeff Smith. Feeling droopy. Moving along, let's see. More news for you. Apple trademarks. There's an app for that. Well, of course they do. It's there. It ought to be theirs. And with other people coming along, I think they ought to own that. Don't you?
Absolutely right.
Who came up with there's an app for that? Was it Apple, or was it the ads, or was it somebody else saying it?
No, I think that was an Apple thing. And why would they let that go any more than Campbell would give up good?
Right. I mean, yeah. We've talked about this before, and I think I know what Andy's opinion of this, but I'd like to know what Chris's opinion of this. It always looked like to me when they first came out with the iPhone, there were no apps. And Steve Jobs really went on and on about how you really ought to do web apps. That's the way to go. Build your apps on the web, and we'll support them. And it's just like an app, but it's better. And apparently the demand for apps was so great, they created the App Store in just a few months. And by the time I don't remember if it was the next iPhone that had apps or if they did it within just a few months of the release of the first iPhone. But apps have been huge. It always struck me that Apple, and this happens in the industry, you can't predict till people start using your stuff what they're going to want. It seems to me that Apple didn't realize apps were going to be huge, but once they figured that out, they've sure run with it. Do you think, I think, Andy, you think that Apple knew ahead of time and it was typical Steve misdirection?
I think so. I think that they did. And this is speculation, but I do think that an App Store ecosystem was always part of the plan. I do think that they were sincere in saying we have this really great system for building web apps, which from their point of view will get added functionality out the door and will allow the iPhone to really start planting its flag in the world without having all the infrastructure for the App Store set up yet. I'm not sure that there was ever an intention for web apps to ever be on the same playing field as those things. But I think it's silly to think that they just saw that the trial balloon that they floated got shut down quickly, and then they hurried to put together some sort of third party App Store.
There's certainly more to gain because you can sell stuff and get 30% off of it. I'm sure Apple's made billions.
Well, they're saying that at the shareholders meeting, they're still saying that it makes money, but not as much as you'd think. That mostly the App Store is there to sell more iPhones and make it more important in the marketplace.
That's how iTunes always has been. It doesn't make money on the music, but it does sell iPods.
Yeah.
So, Chris, what's your take on it? You think Apple knew that apps were going to be big and just slow played it? They slow played their hand, as to use poker parlance.
I believe they did. I think that Apple has enough money to afford a whiteboard. And they use that whiteboard, and they right at the top, and they go down the whiteboard, or actually this way, and I mean, I think the idea that Apple is a very large ship. It's the big tanker, and the idea that it's suddenly they get the big stink on the web apps are not the kind of enthusiasm they want, particularly from developers, is that they're suddenly go, oh well, let's do this, and look, 6 months later we have all the infrastructure set up for the apps. And, gee, it certainly is convenient that we happen to have this iTunes store thing that we've already set up, and maybe if we just rejigger that a little bit. No, I have to think that Apple has the whiteboard with years of plans on it, and certainly they're going to vary from it as things change.
I want a picture of that whiteboard if you ever see it. Would you just? Wouldn't you love to have a picture of that?
I think I would have to hone my ninja skills to the 75th level just to get to the fourth door away from that room where the whiteboard
That's
is.
a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible moment where he's hanging on the wires, floating.
Oh, yeah.
Snaps the whiteboard, pulls him back up. But I'd love to get a picture of that roadmap. So would everybody else in the world. You know, it's just it's always one of those things where it's obvious in hindsight that the App Store was a great idea. It's obvious that was a complete competitive advantage over everybody else. It made everybody else have to play catch up, and it took them years to do so. That's why I think maybe Apple didn't know, but you know, who knows? They're obviously smarter than I am.
Oh, don't
You're supposed to tell me I'm not.
No, absolutely not.
Hey,
no.
I think I just bought my last computer, my last desktop computer. I'm sure I'll buy more laptops. I'm sure I'll buy more iPads.
You've finally been banned from every Best Buy and Apple store in
won't
America.
let me in
Leo,
anymore.
Canada is so close by.
I decided I was playing. You know, I bought the Mac Pro, this i7 Mac Pro, because I thought, well, that will be my last, you know, desktop because it's an i7, but you know it's a laptop, and so it's not that fast. So I've been playing StarCraft, and I put it on the 27-inch monitor, which she says, sounds like I'm spending a lot of money here, and I am, but it's all for StarCraft, so it's okay. So but when you get the 27-inch monitor and you get the big resolution, and you try to run it off the laptop labors, and I mean you can hear it going. So I thought, well, I need a better computer to play, and then I thought maybe I'll buy a Windows computer because then I could play Civ 5, and there's some games that are, you know, still not on Macintosh, even though Steam is. And then I thought, well, really the best Windows computer is a Mac Pro. So I decided I bought a Mac Pro. I haven't told my boss this yet, but I bought the I used the TWIC credit card. Is that okay? I bought honey. I got something bad. I bought the 8-core, the middle one, not the 12-core. Not the quad-core, but the dual Westmere's with 8 gigs of RAM. And I'm thinking, as I'm buying it, this may be the last desktop I ever buy because, really, I mean, how much more power does one need? Ever.
Yeah.
Don't you think? I mean, I'll probably buy more other devices like laptops, but I just don't see myself I mean, for 10 years, what are we going to do with a more powerful computer? What is it that we need?
The next version of StarCraft.
Oh, yeah. Well, that took 10 years.
No, I'm sorry, Chris. You were about to say.
No, I wasn't.
Okay. I think that we're just going to need more powerful processors just to support more powerful user interfaces. And until we get those user interfaces and operating systems that just require more crunch power, then people are going to be surprised to see how little they can get by with. The past few weeks were the iPad's final exam for me because it was the first 2 real trips that I've taken relying on the iPad as my sole computer. I'm not talking about like I'm going to be backpacking in Canyon country. I'll just maybe write a couple of notes to myself. No, I'm talking about actually researching and writing columns, driving presentations, creating presentations.
We got plenty of horsepower. We could do it on an iPad for crying out loud.
Exactly. I mean, even at New York Comic Con was the real test because this was one where I was covering it wasn't just like it was me horsing around as a geek at a Comic Con, but it really was a working show for me where I was taking lots of briefings, lots of meetings, had to write and produce a lot of different content, and the iPad was just fine. And that's an A4 processor is not a quadrillion core Blaupont processor. It's just an A4 mobile processor.
So I think that you're right. I think you're exactly right when you say it's going to be a new UI because in fact that's what's happened. All of this extra horsepower that's come along was at first just to support Windows, to support GUIs, support all of that stuff. We caught up. We are now fast enough for even the most sluggish graphical user interfaces. It's games that's driving it, but games, I mean, come on, games can't outpace hardware by too much, or nobody will buy the game.
Douglas Adams used to say something about how when the Apple II first got started, when personal computers first got started, 5% of the processing power was used to figure out what you wanted to do, and then 95% of the processing power was used to actually do it. Now it's exactly inverse. It spends 95% of its time trying to figure out what you want to do and presenting your options to you.
I also see somewhat of a stasis at this point in operating systems. You know, they're even Snow Leopard and Windows 7. They're just, you know, like polishes. You got to look at processors. I mean, the processor I bought is 2.4 gigahertz. We're not getting to 4 gigahertz processors. They can't. Let alone, I mean, demand aside, there are technical limits. So they're adding more cores or adding more RAM. I have a feeling that I got a 2.6. I think. I can't remember what I got. But anyway, it's not the, you know, there are faster processors, but I just feel like we're kind of we're plateauing.
Yeah, well, actually, I agree. I have a Mac Pro from 4 years ago that I still use, and it's fine. I mean, there's no point where I run up against a wall except with bandwidth, and that has nothing to do with my computer. I want a faster pipe coming into my house. And I don't. I'm on DSL. I'm out in the boonies, and I get 3 megabits down, which a few years ago would have been amazing. But now I'm feeling like I'm on the edge. So that's where I want to see the big speed up. Bring me a bigger pipe into my house, and suddenly my computing life gets a whole lot better.
Well, I mention this so that those of you who've been waiting to buy a Mac Pro now will know that the Apple should release new Mac Pros any day now. This happened to me last time I bought a Mac Pro. We buy them for the editors, so that's part of my justification. Is well, I'm buying them for the editors. I should get one. but the last time I bought a Mac Pro for myself, literally, Apple said, "Oh, we won't ship that right away." And I said, "Huh?" And then 2 days later, they said, "Now you know why we have a new Mac Pro." So I'm waiting for that email. You know that
well, actually, this one just came out, so I think you're safe.
I think I'm all right. Yeah,
4 years, because it took them a long time to update this one.
Yeah.
So you're all right.
All right. Whew. From the bouffant of all knowledge, I am okay.
You're all right.
Thank goodness. I'm so excited. Did get my Apple TV came in the mail today too. So if you're a late buyer,
oops.
Oh, I dropped it?
Yeah, you just dropped it.
Is it broken? Is it made of glass?
Do this.
What?
Sponge sugar. Yes.
Sponge sugar. They make it out of the same high-quality material used for prop bottles in Western movies.
You must have missed that episode of Cake Boss where he designed it.
It's all fondant.
Yeah.
All the way down.
No, is Apple getting a little bit out of hand with the micro packaging? Because I
there's
first
no
saw that
room for. Watch this.
In the new line of iPods specifically, I'm thinking that if I just spend $150, $175 for the new iPod Nano, I want something larger than an ice cube. I want I want a T-shirt in there. I want a bath towel in there. I want to feel as though I got $150 worth of stuff.
I'm convinced that Fox Pro made a machine to wrap the cable, the power cable. Look at this. Oh, see, I'll never get it back in now. Yep. It's like the thing in the fake pecan can. It popped out and now it'll never go back in again.
I just think that they just put all this stuff together and they just dunk it in a vat of like liquid cardboard,
like
and then just simply solidifies in the shape of this box around it.
I wish I could get jeans like this. No, I don't. No. I'm just see now.
I wish some people could get jeans like that, but I'm partially with you.
Yes, only me. There. Well, no. See, it's not. I'll never get it back. It's the funniest thing. So there it is. It popped out, but they do a nice job, and they're using these new silicone cables. You like the power cable on that? Ooh, that's sad when I'm fetishizing the electrical cable.
He's into rubber. Okay.
All right. Enough of what Leo's buying. That's good. Moving along, there is an app for that. NGMoco, which makes an app that I confess I'm trying to. The reason I want to do this StarCraft is I've actually spent almost as much on Mojo on We Rule. So I figure, $3,000 in Mojo or a new computer to play StarCraft where I don't have to buy in-game upgrades. No, I'm just kidding about that. But you do understand now why DNA, the Japanese developer, is buying NGMoco, the San Francisco game company that does We Rule, and it's an iPhone and iPad app shop only. and it's being sold for $400 million. Social gaming is obviously big bucks. These are free games, too. That's the thing. They don't make the money in the games. They make the money in... Let me show you the Mojo store. That's where they make their money. Oh, the Mojo store is closed. Maybe they're going to have a new upgrade on Mojo.
Maybe federal regulators finally caught on to them.
Yeah, no kidding. That's weird. I can't get more Mojo.
No, clearly they need to get it working.
I can't trade any more real money for fake money. This sucks.
I don't know if this is going to work. I'll be right back. Apparently there's a bug. We'll find out about it soon in iOS on daylight savings time. Just a word of warning. We're going to leave daylight savings time. Well, actually, I guess we're going out of daylight savings time, but the southern hemisphere has gone into daylight. So users in New South Wales, Victoria, the Australian Capital Territory, South Australia, and Tasmania woke up early, an hour ahead this week, according to ZDNet. The bug is it has to do with repeating alarms, which are activating an hour early following the switch to daylight savings time. So it is only Southern Hemisphere. I don't know if we'll face the bug when we leave daylight savings time in a couple of weeks. However, you really don't want your alarm to go off an hour early. Apple says, we are aware of this issue, and we have already developed a fix. I'm sure they spent hours working on that.
Right. We'll roll it out next year when we flip over again. And
we will ship it to you in an upcoming update.
Actually, when it comes to the next turnaround, we're going to let you sleep in an hour later.
Yeah.
Give that hour back.
How about
to you.
that? Give it back.
Yeah, so make the alarm go off an hour later than it's supposed to.
Get this. The audience for iOS devices, according to Mobile Beat, is now bigger than that of major television shows and sports broadcasts. The daily audience for apps that run on iOS, iPhone, iPod Touch, and iPad combined is 19 million users. They spend an average, according to Apple, of 22 minutes a day using these apps. That means, if you do the multiplication, that there are more people spending more screen time with iOS than NBC's Sunday Night Football. So how long before Faith Hill sings a song? Are you ready for the iOS? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, how many people have yet to train themselves to skip over any ads on any computer screen that they can possibly do? They possibly can. Whereas football, yeah, if you're not in the bathroom, you're there. It's too much trouble to channel surf just to come back 2.5 minutes later.
Right.
It's apples and oranges.
Not many people do what you do, Andy, which is you start the game, you start the DVR of the game, and you go do something for half an hour, then you come back and start watching the game, and you could skip through the commercials, and it ends. It's perfect. The game ends right when the DVR recording ends.
Well, for
in
actually,
real time.
You got to reverse. For football, I DVR. If there's a big game, I'll DVR the entire game, skip past the game, and watch the commercials. For the Super Bowl, because I can't stand football. It's not that it's a horrible game. It's just that I can never forgive it for always making sure that I can never record The Amazing Race or The Simpsons. I will never forgive you, NFL, for that.
See, Sunday Night Football has ruined his life.
It has indeed.
Those 19 million users are just shy of the audience. Just a few million shy of the audience of ABC's Dancing with the Stars, which is kind of depressing. There are more people watch Dancing with the Stars than use iOS. That's depressing.
But it is a weird thing, isn't it? Though, if you've ever looked at the top most popular videos on YouTube, you'll see videos that have 5, 10, 20, even 30 million views, and there'll be videos you have never heard of in your life. Even though everybody in this conversation is pretty high on the geek curve.
Well, you're not a 12-year-old boy, so Fred Figglehorn does not figure high in your life.
But isn't it weird that something can get 30 million views? And it's not even I for God's sakes, I know how to spell the name Kardashian. I've never seen a single damn one of her shows, but I know what that name is. There's still going to be a certain amount of reach that television and traditional electronic media have that YouTube and online videos and online ads just can't get.
Well, also they're immediately accessible, so you have that factor of, hey, look at this, and you can send that around to 20 or 30 of your best friends or people in your office and say, "Oh, check this out." And so that's
well. So all right, here's a question: which you get your choice. You can be American Idol, or you could be Fred Figglehorn. Or let's put it this way: you could buy an ad on American Idol, or you could buy an ad on Fred Figglehorn. American Idol has 4 million more daily viewers than iOS. It is the #1 ranked TV show in the world, according to Flurry. So let's say, and Fred Figglehorn has 560 million total views on YouTube. So which would you rather be? Where would you rather buy an ad? What's more valuable?
I don't think that YouTube ads are going to be as valuable as traditional ads. I don't know how many people you're talking about the traditional like lower quarter banner ads that pop up and everybody dismisses with one mouse click.
Right.
Yeah, see,
we're trained to ignore them, aren't we?
Yeah. You're trained to ignore them. Secondly, it's not enough space to get any sort of a message across. If you have a 30-second commercial and you do it artfully, at least people are going to be patient enough to just sit through it. They may not be, my God, I'm totally fascinated by this man on a horse who simply wants me to buy Old Spice. You have my rapt attention, but they're at least going to stick with you until the very, very end.
Old Spice's sales like doubled after that campaign.
Well, it's much better than their previous ad campaign where the slogan was Old Spice because maybe your girlfriend is turned on by people who smell like her grandfather or great grandfather.
Hi, and I like it too.
Smells. I'm the old sea captain. I smell like filth because I've been in a ship for 40 days. I'm gonna splash on some sandalwood and hopefully they'll let me into the port.
Sexy.
I have $3 and I know which house I'm spending it in, if you know what I mean.
I don't know if any of you are doing this for your app pick. The Yahoo Messenger app, is that an app pick?
Not for me.
Okay, so I'll mention it. The new Yahoo Messenger app that is available for free on the iPhone. You'd need 4.1 on an iPhone. Features free 3G and voice calling to other Yahoo Messenger friends, including video. Could be the new FaceTime, right? Okay,
I wonder if people are like Chris. Are people actually using these apps to get around using their telephone, or is it just a convenience thing? I don't think people are actually using it that way.
Yeah, I don't know all that many people that are using it at all, unless you're 20, and then because everybody looks good in video when you're 20. When you're not,
God, you're
everybody holds their phone up like way above their head, so that they could do this,
right?
And because if they do this, you got all this thing, and then everybody's looking up your nose. So you have to adopt this. Oh, hi, hello, how are you?
That's a good point. I always thought it was a little odd FaceTime on the phone because you got to hold your arm like right there to make it work.
Yeah, and you're just not looking, and the whole time you're looking at your little picture of yourself,
right?
Trying to look as good as you possibly can, and not paying any attention to what anybody is saying to you.
What?
That it's
what
like,
did you?
Yeah. So what we really need is our avatars, a picture of somebody beautiful on here.
There you go.
With just our clutch cargo like lips kind of through there. This is a very old reference. I'm very sorry. But just the lips there, and then you've got George Clooney's face there, and because I can make my lips look okay at 7 in the morning, but the rest of me looks like hell.
With a little effort, I have the capability of doing that on our switcher here, but don't tempt me.
Oh, please.
Don't tempt me. I do think that's one of the reasons Apple's ads often feature infants for FaceTime, right? Show off the baby because you don't want to really show yourself off.
They always look great. Or, they computer generate the grandparents who look, that little dried up apple face grandparent look, instead of that, gouty looking.
You don't want the gouty grandpa.
No.
Even if he smells like Old Spice, you don't want the gouty. Apple pays... Oh, you wish you were the Fulbrights these days. The Fulbrights, couple that own a parcel of land, little bit of property in North Carolina, right up there where Apple's building that big old data center. Back in the mid-'70s, they built a modest home. They bought some land in Maiden, North Carolina. Paid $6,000 for it. That was a lot of money back in the mid-'70s. 34 years later. Right about mid-'70s, by the way, is right about when Apple started up. So they both grew together, But 34 years later, Apple basically came to those guys and said, we will give you anything. because
who wants a free MacBook and a free Apple TV?
Because we cannot build our 500,000 square foot data center worth $1 billion without your little tiny bit of land. So what did, according to Bloomberg, you've all seen this article by now. I just love the story, though. What did Apple pay for this piece of land that the Fulbrights, less than an acre, paid $6,000 for 34 years ago? $1.7 million. Fulbrights ended up buying 49 acres of land a couple of towns away in a 4,200 square foot house. And they're just happy as clams. I like that story. Everybody wins.
Although I so wish that they hadn't. And that Apple, just like in the cartoons,
would build around it.
Yeah, just build around it and have their little acre in the middle of it, and just this huge black monolith of a building, and they're right in the center, you know, with this little ladder that goes up the side, and they have to go over and then down to get their groceries, and then come back again, and the constant.
That'd be cute.
It would be so cute. I just
and
wish
he could probably get a job as night watchman at the data center or something. He's there.
Yeah, or just maybe they're retired, you know, and Steve could come over for dinner, you know, and visit them. And you know, when people are stressed, they go over and lie on the hammock and watch as the servers spin. But no, that was my little fantasy, and it's been crushed. Thank you, Apple.
Hey, this is,
if Apple thinks that they got the better end of the deal, they're going to get screwed because there's a homeowners association in that neighborhood.
Covenants.
Okay, and they're going to get it for like hanging a windsock. They can't hang their laundry, and also they're running a business on that property.
Yep.
So
and
no pirate flag either.
Yeah,
can't have more than 4 chickens either. So that's not so good. No more fresh eggs for you, Steve. Apple is going to discontinue .Mac homepage viewing. By .Mac, I guess is this the last bit of .Mac to go away? MobileMe members got an email yesterday, I guess, saying a few days ago, as of November 8th, in 1 month, web pages published using .Mac will become unavailable. If you're using iWeb, that'll do it automatically. It'll fix it. But the rest of you, you'll find your stuff on your iDisk, and you could do something else with it if you want. It's been a year in the making. Is this the last bit of MobileMe, Chris? Have you gotten emails at the Mac 911 page or 411 page saying, is it 9 or 4?
Oh, it's 9.
9. 411's directory assistance. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, and I'll just tell you, call those people. Fulbright, talk to them about the scholarship. They've got $1.45 million, so they can do that.
Yeah.
Apple warned people about this sometime about a year ago,
right,
saying, we're not going to do this anymore. It is going to go away. Certainly, there are going to be people, like old AppleWorks people who just cling to it and say, no, but it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Why has this gone away? But indeed, it is going away. Yeah, it's the last vestige of the old, before they started talking about the cloud and the wonderful things you could do with it. It's that old kind of creaky .Mac world, and it's okay that it's gone. They have other things you can do.
It's okay. All right, we're going to take
it. Your page has gone to a much, much better place.
Yes, your iDisk. You'll find it there. Now go away. We're going to take a little teeny weeny break, come back with our picks of the week. Ihnatko's here from the celestial waste of bandwidth. Chris Breen from MacWorld.com. He's senior editor there at the Mac Daddy and the author of the Mac 911 column. Before we go on, though, I would very much like to talk about our good friends at Audible.com. Audible is the place I go to get my audio entertainment. I'm listening to I get so many good books on Audible.com. I subscribe to 2 books a month, so that way, plenty of reading. But I have to say, every time I go to the Audible homepage, because they have 75,000 plus titles, and they're adding, dozens a day. So every time I go here, there's more. It's like, oh, what? No, I want to listen to that. I want to listen to that. The new Condoleezza Rice memoir is on there. I'm listening to The 1% Solution. She figures quite a bit in that. The Ron Suskind book about the response to the 911 attacks. Fascinating. I'm also reading The Dark Tower. I had to take a break because, I read the first book of The Dark Tower and it blew my mind, man. So now I'm, kind of absorbing The Gunslinger, Stephen King's bizarre. I think it was like he was like... on mescaline or something when he wrote it, because a little strange.
Is that the lobster one?
No,
Lobstrosities?
No.
There's a Lobstrosities one, but I can't remember which book that was in.
No, it's book one of the Dark Tower series, The Gunslinger.
Yeah, but there's a scene in that series somewhere about...
That's where they say it jumps the shark, was with the lobster.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten there yet.
Sorry.
It hasn't. It's so far from jumping the shark that I don't even know what's going on. It's just... But it's good. It's
great.
It's well written. The Millennium Trilogy, I'm one book in, but that's great there. Andy, what are you reading these days on audible.com?
Let's see. The current one is inspired by one of my new favorite TV shows. I cannot stop watching the Hoarders show on A&E.
I've been saving this comic collection for years.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, first of all, that has nothing to do with that because they're part of our cultural heritage. They're going to be worth something someday.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Shut up. Shut your shutty up mouth, Mr. Leo Laporte. Just shut up.
Not a hoarder. Not a hoarder.
That man understands me. No, but that's actually that's why I kind of like started because I do have a bit of a clutter problem. So I like to save things, but I'm glad to say that I've never had a problem throwing out like a 5-week-old issue of People magazine. Nor has like any of my rooms in my house become so bad that if someone enters the room, you have to warn them that you think there might be possums living in there. Ha ha ho ho, and then you dislodge a box and oh my god, here's the possums running out for daylight. I think it is actually a well done, very sensitively done show. But I think that for most of the people who watch it, I think that step one to better health is admitting you don't have a problem. It's like you know what? There are 8 empty soda cans on the nightstand here. I really do think I'm capable of just putting those right down to the recycling right now.
Yeah.
Instead of making it to keep them there a 4th or a 5th day.
Right on, Andy. Right on.
So I got kind of interested in the topic because the people who are on this, who are helped by this program, have real problems with this.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I got pointed to a really interesting book called Stuff, Compulsive Hoarding and the Meaning of Things. And it's by Randy Frost and Gail Stikit. And it's not necessarily a clinical it's more of a mass market book, but it was written by 2 scientists who explains not only the roots of this kind of disorder, but kind of getting to what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago with how the brain works, about how there are reasons why people develop these disorders, and it's sometimes it just comes into the idea of there is a very, very logical and very, very productive process that the brain follows, but it gets short-circuited at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it probably was some survival thing initially.
Yeah, well, they get into that. I'm only about 5 chapters into it, and mostly they're getting not into evolution but behavior. Right. But they're talking about mostly things like how it makes sense for someone to say that, you know what, here's something that I should check to make sure that this, for me myself, I'm going through my storage lockers and make sure I'm starting to empty those out because I put some stuff in the storage about a year or 2 ago. The ability to go through some stuff you've had for 5 or 10 years with your iPhone and the eBay app in your pocket and see that, okay, this Lights and Sounds Star Wars Episode 1 action figure bank is there are 8 of them on eBay right now with a buy it now price of $20 to $30 and absolutely no takers. Okay, so I'm going to be definitely taking this to my friend Steve at the Outer Limits and getting store credit for what I can get. Good. But for other people, it would be, but you know what? If I hold on to it a little bit longer, I'm sure that I'll be able to get a good price for it. It's only going to get more valuable because I'm sticking with it. And then there are the people who are, this is too good to throw away, or someone else can use this, or actually have a lot of good memories that are associated with that. And all of these are things that you can really associate with because there's so many things in all of our homes that you have for sentimental value. I have on my kitchen wall a fly swatter that looks like a cheap plastic giveaway fly swatter with the name of a programming manual from 1977, and only if you knew the story behind it that it was a giveaway at the first computer show I ever went to with my dad, when you realize, oh, that's why he's keeping it. Yeah. And that, okay, it's okay to keep that, but not, yeah, but I was reading this magazine when my dad came to visit me. That, well, no, that's not a good reason to save it. So, but it's a very, very readable book that makes you feel as though you understand a little bit better about how the human mind works. If there are people that you think are in your life who might have a problem like this, that's also very handy because you might recognize some behavior and it might give you sort of the impulse to start looking a little bit closely at how their lives are going own and whether they do need help. But it's a very, very readable, very, very entertaining book. As I said, I'm only about 4 or 5 chapters into it right now, but I'm liking it a lot. Also, it's read by a very, very good reader, and that's I have bailed on some books after 5 chapters because I'm driving. I'm thinking, I really thought I could deal with that little nasal pang that he puts into every 4th sentence.
And then I saw that there was never going to be. Yeah, he just goes. Argh! Do you mostly listen in the car, or do you? It sounds like you get so much reading done. You must listen around the house.
I mostly listen in the car. I usually bank when I travel.
You do some driving then.
Yeah, I mean, there's I moved. There's a couple places like my comic book shop that I used to go to all the time used to be like a 10-minute drive away. I could not find a single decent comic shop in my new house that was anywhere near as good or even tolerable. And so now I drive like an extra 35 minutes, extra 40 minutes just to go back to the original store that I used to shop at. So I do a little bit of driving, and it's just it's a great thing to do in the car because it uses the CPU cycles of your brain that are not being used by the safe operation of the car, but it never becomes so distracting that you will not be able to tell that, okay, that guy up ahead is going to kill either me or himself. I'd rather he kill himself. I'm going to slow down a little bit and merge into this lane, etc.
Yeah, I actually found myself driving more. I volunteer to do carpool and stuff now because I want more time in the car. I love listening to audio books. I listen to Audible at the gym, too. I work out more. It's actually been good for my health. I spend an hour a day at the gym because I know it's going to be good reading time. And
Stephen Fry,
part of it.
I think Stephen Fry credits audiobooks with he lost a huge amount of weight, and he said that it got him to walk because all the books that he's been meaning to read but never got around to, now he just got himself in the habit of, I'm going to download the audiobook and I'm going to listen to it on my iPod and take a walk while I listen to these books.
He's a great reader himself. I wonder if there are some Stephen Fry. A lot of them are available on Audible UK, but not available on Audible US. I'm just going to do a little search for Stephen Fry. Oh, yeah, there are. He does Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's good. Some Chekhov short stories.
He's also a Harry Potter narrator, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he is in the UK, but you can't get those in the US. It's Jim Dale. Yeah, there's quite a bit. Winnie the Pooh by Stephen Fry. I love that. That's the point about Audible. It's got kids' books. It's got adult books. It's got books of all kinds, 75,000 titles in every category, K through 12 to sci-fi and fantasy and more. If not everybody loves reading or listening to books, but if you listen to podcasts, I have a feeling you're kind of auditory focused. You're going to love Audible. Stuff's our pick of the week, Andy's pick of the week, but do browse around. You're going to get your first book free by going to audible.com/MacBreak. You'll sign up for that Gold account, which is a book a month. I think that's about right for a beginning Audible reader. Don't attempt the more challenging, more difficult 2 books a month until you've really broken in your brain. But I'll tell you, that's what I do. Audible.com/MacBreak. Your first book's free. Cancel at any time, and it's yours to keep forever. I think you're going to like it, and we thank them so much for their support of the Twit network all around. Time for our picks of the week. We will start with Mr. Christopher Breen in the center square to block.
Okay, I am going to show off the Zoom H1 recorder.
It's so little.
Look at it's so little. Yeah, for those of you who are watching rather than listening, it's about the size of a reasonable size Mars bar, except it has this little plastic hood on the top where you have 2 microphones and an XY axis. It is Zoom has been making these portable field recorders for quite some time. This is the smallest and least expensive one they've made. It's $99, and it records in wave format, uncompressed, at 1644 on up to 2496 kilohertz. It also records MP3 files on up to 320 kilobits per second. It runs off a single AA battery. The interface is not bad. If you can see this, if you're watching, there's a line of buttons on one side, and that's for controlling volume in your play controls. On the back, you do have switches for switching between WAV and MP3 files. On another side, you have your volume controls and your headphone out. There's a little speaker in the bottom so you can hear what's going on if you need to listen back to something to make sure you've actually recorded it. Simple 1-button recording. It's got a little readout on the front that tells you what's going on. I've used some of these recorders in the past. This one has a fairly simple interface. easier to use than the previous one. One thing it does not have is an XLR connection, because it's, an XLR plug would be about as big as the device. So you do have a line out and a line in, so you can use an external microphone, but it's a 3mm connector. So if you want to use an XLR, you can get a series of adapters that will eventually get you there. But the quality of the onboard mics is really quite good. It's got a tripod mount on it if you want to hang it over somebody. This is good for podcast recording. I've done a few interviews on it. It sounds really good. It's also good for concert recordings. Not amazing if you're in the back row, because the gain may not be as hot as you like. But for everyday, really good quality recording, it's a terrific device, and it uses a micro SD card that flips on into the side here, and you can go up to 32 gigabytes of storage on the thing, which I think gives you like 50 hours of uncompressed recording, or maybe that's MP3 recording.
So this is a new one from Zoom, and they do a great job with those mics. That's really the key on this stuff.
Yeah, it's plasticky, but it's $100. So if you're careful with it, it's not built like a tank, but it's quite a capable recorder, particularly given the price.
They've announced an HD video recorder with their Zoom mics on it that I'm very intrigued by when that comes out. Of course, that'll be a lot more expensive. And we use Zoom H4s all the time here in the studio, because they do support XLRs if you need XLRs. So you can go out in the field and record stuff, and they're spectacular. So I've got to take a look at this new H1. That's really, really cool. Andy Ihnatko, your pick of the week.
My pick is something I didn't know about until 2 or 3 weeks ago, and is now one of my favorite apps for the iPad ever. It's called PictureLink by a company called Zuhanden. You would guess that this is a German company. I'm going to guess that you're right. Yeah, it says zuhanden.de, so I'm going to guess that's right. It's a presentation app, and it addresses every single complaint or wish list problem that I had with Keynote. Keynote is a wonderful app for building presentations. As a matter of fact, I kind of even prefer it to the desktop version because it's so tactile and interactive. But it has one almost silly, embarrassing problem. While you're driving the presentation, it doesn't display the slides on the iPad screen. It just puts them up on the VGA. So I have to, as I'm giving a presentation, I have to keep like sort of turning around to make sure that I'm on the page I think I'm on. And that's just a silly thing that I hope they're going to fix with an upcoming release. But the second problem is that it's not always true that your presentations are strictly a linear presentation. Of the panel that the presentation that I was giving at New York Comic Con was I was moderating a panel on Greg Pak's new comic called The Vision Machine. And so I started off as a moderator just by walking people through what this comic was and what it was about, and taking them through just here's a really kind of canned presentation. But after that, I needed to have the ability to really just whatever the panel was talking about, find a graphic element that might help them out. And so I had all this stuff preloaded. So I would go to the first 6 pages of the comic, or then I'd go to a piece of art from a movie that Nina Paley, one of our speakers, said, stuff like that. So what it allows you to do is not only I've got it up here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So what it allows you to do, and it really is amazing, you can at any point get to the top of your slide deck and get to like the thumbnails of all your slides, and just the VGA screen, the projector screen will go blank, but then you can simply tap any slide you want, and then the VGA screen will go again to whatever you tap.
So your audience doesn't see the thumbnails; they just see you moving to a different one.
Your audience doesn't see the thumbnails, but you can simply teleport to anything that you put into the slide deck. So even if it's not part of your regular presentation, the better thing though is that it allows you to build your own like HyperCard-like link buttons onto your slide. So, for instance, this here. I'll put it back into mode. This here is sort of like the static image that people at the panel saw. If we weren't actually talking about anything, but if you look really closely, you'll see that there are little boxes drawn around certain elements here.
Yeah, I don't know if we can see those. Yeah.
Exactly. So, for instance, this was the static image, but anytime that the comic is about this Apple makes a product kind of a company like Apple makes a sort of a immersive reality device, and sometimes I wanted to go back to the panel of the comic that showed you what the device was. So if people start talking about the device, I could simply tap this image of the character that has the glasses on, and immediately it would go to that shot. The people seeing this on the screen would not see those hot link boxes, but they would just simply see that I'd gone to that. I've also, if you look very closely, there's another box up at the top here, and I've set that up so that on every single page of the slide deck, there's always that button over there that will always take me right back to the front page. And so I basically put like hot links on this one top page that would teleport me everywhere I want to go. Like when Nina Paley did that wonderful Sita Sings the Blues movie. So anytime that I wanted to show people, she started talking, I could instantly go to a still from that movie, and now a section of the slide deck that would start talking about that movie here. On top of that, there's the standard like forward and back buttons that let you just simply scroll through the slides as you've gone through. But it makes it so very easy to do these nonlinear presentations that it's really become my default my default choice as a presentation app. Now, the only thing it does not do is, obviously, you cannot create slides with it as you can with Keynote. You add slides to it just by adding images that are already in the pictures library. But big deal. Anytime that when I needed like real like slides with graphics and text and bullets and stuff like that, I would just build it as a Keynote slide and then just do a screenshot, hold down the home key and the power button, and now that gets dumped into the pictures library, and I can simply add it to my picture link presentation. I really hope that this becomes the kind of like Plants vs. Zombies, only for presentations. I really want them to be I want them to be that successful, because there's still a few little quirks about it that lack a little bit of polish, but just this basic feature set, the idea that I can do a combination linear and nonlinear presentation with tools that are on that screen that let me get to exactly the slide I want, so that I'm seeing things on the iPad that the audience is not seeing. That's instead of the way that Keynote does it, which is the audience sees things that I can't see on my iPad.
Yeah.
I really think that this is almost close to find out if there's only one or two guys who are responsible for this. Apple, fly them in, give them a meeting, show them the lights of Cupertino, and ask them to join the Keynote team, or just buy them. I think that this will really enhance any product.
Now, of course, if you want video out, you have to have the additional video out accesssory for the iPad.
Yeah, it works via VGA, but this is the first one. This is the first such app that I've seen that does a really good job of essentially using the iPad as a true dual screen display, where there are things that you can see that the audience can't see, so that you can really set things up and tell your story and drive your presentation in a really useful and meaningful manner.
Picture Link by Zhu Handen.
It's cheap. It's like $3.99, I believe.
$3.99 on the.
And still, there are people who are complaining. Oh, is it should this really be $3.99?
Maybe. I think I'll buy this for the cruise, because I do need. Why not bring my presentations on the iPad? That'd be so much easier.
Yeah, and again, I've done 2 presentations now from the iPad, and both of them where it wasn't just I've exported from PowerPoint and run through them. I mean, just at home, I developed it on Keynote back on in my hotel room, and where I was, I either built them or rebuilt them in Keynote and played them on the iPad, and worked perfectly.
You don't get the Keynote transitions, things like that.
The only thing exactly. The only transitions it has is just simply replace.
Yeah.
But hey, that's such an easy trade for me.
Right.
And the other thing I should mention is that I did actually have to sort of redo my entire presentation the night before, a couple nights before, only because I sent them an email. I got it like a couple of weeks ago, really liked it, and sent them an email like a week later with a list of suggestions that I want, including I want to be able to have like set one link box that will a master link box that will be on every single page, a back button, stuff like that. And 3 or 4 or 5 days later, a brand new version appeared with all those features that I'd asked for. Yeah. I doubt I'm the first person I asked for it, but it does show that this wasn't this is my first demo project that I built in Xcode, and now I'm going to move on to my EP Bird version of a demo app. It is actually apparently something that they're really working on and continuing to develop. And that $3.99 that I sent them, I'm sure will hopefully encourage them to keep building upon it, because, as I said, great app. It's something I've been waiting for months.
Very cool. I think I've been downloading it right now. My app is a, you remember Moblogging? It's back, baby. Moblogging was kind of all the rage when people first got camera phones. There was a site called Text America. There were a few other sites, and they've just all disappeared. They've withered away. But Moblogging's back, and I think this might be the app that brings it back. It does require an iPhone, and it's so good that I actually started carrying the iPhone around just so that I could participate. It's called Instagram. It's absolutely free. INSTAGR.am if you want to go to the website. But there's really nothing on the website. It really is all about on the iPhone. It combines features of Flickr, Twitter, and a camera phone app. So you press the camera button, you can take a picture. I'll take a silly picture, but I'll show you what we can do with it. It comes with about a dozen filters that you can apply to the picture, which make it more interesting. You see, you can take a picture with the front-facing camera or the back-facing camera. You can also take pictures that are already in your library and then process them with one of these filters, which makes it so much more arty. There are a variety of different filters. They're not, they're kind of like the things that you'd get in Camera Bag. Nothing super whizzy. There's 2 monochrome filters, one high contrast, one medium contrast. There's a sepia filter. There's a Lomo style filter that brings up the color. And actually, that made that picture look awesome. So now I'm going to press next on it. I can put a comment in there. I can add location information, Foursquare style, and then I can post on Twitter, Flickr, Facebook, Tumblr, or Foursquare, my existing accounts, all or none. And the beauty of this is once you've posted your picture, it then puts a link in Twitter or any of the places you link to the Instagram website, so people can go see that picture at the Instagram website. But they can also comment on it and like it right in the Instagram application. Pictures that get liked a lot get in the popular feed, which reminds me a lot of the Flickr popular feed. In fact, there's some really awesome pictures in here, surprisingly awesome pictures in here. In fact, I've never gotten one of my pictures in the popular section. So that just shows you how good they are. You can also follow people. So I've followed some interesting people, and that creates a Twitter-style picture stream of their images, which makes it a lot of fun. This has become kind of a secret kind of new Twitter that a lot of people have started to participate in and are having a lot of fun with. You choose who to follow. You can see some comments from people on your picture, and you can have a profile and so forth. But it's all lives on the iPhone, which makes it kind of interesting. I'm Leo Laporte on here, but if you followed me on Twitter, you've probably seen a few Instagram pictures from me, and you can go from there to follow me. I kind of like this. If you're into photography, and the iPhone, let's admit it, the iPhone 4 is the best camera I've ever seen in a phone. Then it really does give you some great images. Here's a chance to kind of use those images. By the way, notice it crops them square, so it's kind of you don't do the. I think that's how they solve the portrait versus landscape issue. Just take it all in portrait mode because it's going to crop it square anyway. INSTAGR.am. It's free. You can download it directly from the App Store. You can find out more if you go to the website, but not much more. It's not what I would call a rich website. In fact, it's basically just points you to the App Store. You can't even. It's interesting. You can't even look at the popular photos on the web. You can't. None of this. There's no functionality for this on the web. You've got to go to the app. You got to do it in the iPhone to play with it. Instagram. I've had a lot of fun with it. Ihnatko is the guy who does all that great tech reporting for the Chicago Sun-Times, one of the last great papers in the United States of America. God bless you. God bless it. And you can also visit him on his own website, www.cwob.com. Great to have you.
Always a slice.
Always a slice. And Chris Breen, thank you so much for being here. We always love a chance to talk to Chris. He's a senior editor at macworld.com. Also writes their Mac 911 column and is the Mac Daddy. His Twitter account, Body of Breen.
Thanks very much, Leo.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And Andy's Twitter account is IHNATKO, which I always remember because the IHN is short for I have no idea how to spell his name. It's the best mnemonic I've ever heard, to be honest. I could never remember. Now I can. And thank you all for being here. We do this show live every Tuesday morning, 11 a.m. Pacific. That's actually Tuesday afternoon for you in the East Coast, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And until we get daylight savings time, it still will be 1800 UTC. Then I guess I'll have to move it because we move. UTC doesn't move, but we move. We're a moving target. You can watch it at live.twit. It's confused me 5 years in a row. I think I finally figured it out. Live.twit.tv if you want to watch live. Comment in our chat room at irc.twit.tv. And we put show notes on our Twit Wiki, which is a very handy place to go if you want to see more about the shows we do and the behind-the-scenes stuff. That's wiki.twit.tv. And we're always looking for people who want to add material in there. You can sign in, create an account, no charge, and we love having your additional. It's a media wiki, so if you've done Wikipedia or anything like that, it's very easy to use. Let's see. That's about it. We will have more Mac news, all the news this afternoon, 2:30 Pacific time, 5:30 Eastern time for TNT with Tom Merritt, Tech News Today. And that's every Monday through Friday right here at live.twit.tv. Don't forget Wozniak, the Woz, tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific at live.twit.tv right after TNT. I'm Leo Laporte. Thanks for joining us. Now get back to work. Break time's over.